What do you think about Fighters Union?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think the Fighters Union is just a union with any professional sport that reaches that sort of level is inevitable. Whether you're for it or against it, I think it's just natural progression. You look at any other major sport, which the UFC is modeling itself after, they all progress into a Fighters Union. So I think we're just seeing that progression now, like the ideas kind of popping up in people's heads now, and there's a bit more momentum now than there ever has been. So it's progression to me, it's natural progression. As the sport builds, the Fighters Union will just happen. It's not whether it's going to happen, it's professional sport. It's a matter of time.
Now, part of being a UFC fighter is being a UFC fighter and being cut from the UFC and being signed on again to the UFC. Do you think a Fighters Union should only be for the UFC, which is like the elite league in this sport, or should it encompass some other leagues as well, like Bellator and World Series and ONE FC?
That's the other thing. You can't just solely focus a union on kind of one organization, because on the scale of things, UFC fighters are the most well looked after of any in mixed martial arts. So to have them like super taken care of, and then all the fighters outside of that to be cast away. These guys fighting on, I'm surrounded by guys fighting on newer shows, these hungry guys, and they look up to me in my position I'm in. So I would like to see all of them helped out. So if they could really unionize like a general thing for all fighters, I think that'll be the goal, instead of just targeting the best kept guys in the world and then looking after them even better. Maybe we look around and start setting like a level of expectation.
Do you think the whole idea of a union is overrated? Like, could it wind up backfiring, costing the fighters too much, not providing the type of support they need? Could it wind up being corrupt like so many other unions?
Yeah, that's another thing to understand about a union. You'd have to, as a fighter, you're used to being more of an independent contractor. So you'd have to look at other organizations that are not employees but independent contractors, and then them being under a union. So it's hard to blanket all the fighters into one kind of stereotype, because there's so many different levels of where everyone is, and everyone's contracts are so different. So I'm in the personal position where if I had a problem with how much I was making or the care the UFC was giving me, then I would talk to someone and I would ask to get paid more or something like that. So to have someone I don't know, or maybe doesn't have my best interests at heart, kind of taking care of my career, is something that I'm not used to. I've managed myself for this long into this period of my career, just going off the people around me, or having other people look at contracts. I read the contracts myself. So to get myself to this position, and then I intend to keep kind of growing. So it's hard to blanket and paint everyone with the same brush and have someone speaking for me now that I've been independent this long.